Our final presentation is Prevent the Breach. Our presenter, Rob Krug, has extensive technical expertise in network engineering and security, including extensive training and experience in cryptography and reverse engineering of malware. Rob is a senior security solution architect and recent Security Engineer of the Year for SonicWall, whose Capture Cloud platform and real-time deep memory inspection identified more than 49,800 new attack variants thus far in 2018, including over 3,500 that had never been seen before. Specializing in security vulnerabilities, Rob is SonicWall's chief ethical hacker, working from his laboratory, surrounded by hundreds of glass jars filled with specimens of the latest malware. I believe the figure is 3,500. That has never been seen before. Despite this, he remains a very well-rounded person and kind of has a sort of pleasant personality. So please welcome Rob Krug.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Well, thanks, folks, for having me in today. There's a couple of points I want to bring out from the previous speakers that came up between the olives and the limes and the oranges, as well as the regulation that you heard about. There's two things in cybersecurity that I want you to take away from this particular session, and that is you can prevent the breach, you can stop the threats, but it takes a whole hell of a lot of hard work, and it takes diligence. It takes, the number one thing it takes is awareness. So what I'm going to focus on for the next few minutes is actually making you aware of some of the things that go bump on the net. In particular, show you some of the breaches that actually take place, how the bad guys do it, why they do it, and how you're affected by it. So some of this is going to really build into creating your own response plans, your own intelligence, your own awareness to what the bad guys are doing. But along the way, you might just have a few laughs as well. And just in case anyone's wondering, it's too late to turn off your wireless devices. I already have them. We'll get to that in just a second. In fact, it's been here since before you got in the building today. All right, so with the presentation today, again, I'm going to show you a couple of the fun stuff. As you heard some of the presentation today, you heard about the Internet of Things, right? And everybody saw this joke. This is about the connected world. Everybody saw this joke about 8 years ago, where it says, "Can I interest you in a firewall for your toaster?" Everybody thought that was really funny until they saw the streaming porn website on Lowe's on the fridge. Then you realize, yeah, you need a firewall for the toaster. All right, you want to keep that stuff out of the house. Of course, it does give another reason for the munchies, but you get the idea. You don't want to have that pop up on the fridge. When you start looking at all of the different things that take place today, when you look at, you can't even go on regular mainstream media anymore without seeing about some different kind of breach. You hear about the ransomware attack that shut down Atlanta. It's taken them more than 2 weeks to correct this breach. More than $50,000 were spent on trying to buy the keys to unlock the ransomware. But that wasn't enough. The bad guys now want to set up a specialized help desk for them as well. All right, so you're going to continue to see these breaches going on. You used to be able to have to go to specialized security or IT news websites to pull this kind of information up, to see where Boeing was compromised by a WannaCry exploit just last month. Just last month, WannaCry is still going around. I find new variants of it all the day. Eric was correct. I do collect ransomware for fun. I actually have more than 100 gigs of live malware in my home. Amazingly, I don't get infected. But don't tell my kids that, because that shuts off the TV when I want it to. When you see other breaches that have happened, the smart cities, all the technology that's evolving, everything that's coming out, all of these connected devices are going to be leading to a possible nightmare scenario where the entire cities could be compromised. And of course, some of the other breaches, some of my favorite ones actually happened a couple of years ago, was Ashley Madison. This one I usually have a lot of fun with, and for different reasons. In this particular breach, of the 37 million men and one woman that were caught up in it, when you see all their users that were breached, all their information, their usernames, their passwords, their email addresses, right? All of that was in there, including 15,000 .mil and .gov email accounts, right? Now that's a spear phishing target list from heaven. You send them an email, you're working at NORAD, you're lonely in the middle of the night, and you get an email with a pretty picture in it. You click on the pretty little link. Oh no, there goes the Space Command. Right? It's all gone. Because that's exactly how those breaches happen, because your information is already out there. Everyone in the room, we were having a conversation in the back. Every one of you have already have your information has already been leaked online. How many of you have had a top secret clearance? All right, perfect. Were you notified with the OPM breach? Were your personal information caught up in that? All your goods is now online, everything you have. I had a top secret clearance from the various government agencies in the United States Navy. All my information's on there. There's nothing I can do to get it back. Granted, I do mess with the bad guys with it, but it's a different story. All of your data has already been compromised. How many of you have been affected in a data breach in one way, shape, or form or another? Equifax, there you go. We're going to talk about my friends at Equifax. We have fun with them too. Of course, Ashley Madison did pay out, in case anyone didn't see. If you did get bit by this one, was anyone affected by this one? Just checking. All right, cool. Some people raised their hands. If you did, it's $3,500, right? So if you did. But when you start looking at all these different breaches, your information's already out there. The bad guys have the tools that they need to already get there. The exploits are going to continue to evolve. Sometimes it's nation state, sometimes it's our own. Sometimes it could be somebody stole some of our nation's stuff and used it against us, like Eternal Blue, which makes hacking on Wi-Fi networks extremely easy, which I'm going to show you real in just a few minutes. All of those attacks that come out, whether it's a hacker creating them, whether it be the engineer-on-engineer attacks, whether it be the nation-state attacks, or it just be, like myself, can change my IP address, make it look like I'm coming from Russia, and if I drink a lot of vodka, I'll sound like it too. When you look at those different breaches coming out, you don't have to go far to find all these headlines today. For example, some of you may have seen where there were over 1,000 applications in Google Play Store that contained spyware. That's an app on your phone that's spying on you. Right? Now, if you have an Android phone, you may think, oh, no, I'm compromised. But then some of you are saying, oh, well, that's why I have Apple. Guess what? The fruit company had problems too, where you could actually hijack the iPhone via the chip, via the hardware chip. Just walking by, I could take control of your phone. I do that in the airport sometimes for kicks. It's kind of fun. When you actually see other exploits where Safari has been compromised, you're going to continue to see different breaches evolve, not just from the way things are coded, but because they're made by humans. Because these applications and devices are made by humans, they are flawed. They will continue to have vulnerabilities. Every time you get a firmware update, there is going to be another zero-day exploit embedded somewhere in that code. Sometimes the code could be there for 10 years before the bad guys actually uncover it. Sometimes it's the vendor that uncovers it. The Panera Bread attack, I don't know if you heard about that one earlier today, the Panera Bread breach was identified more than 8 months ago. It was identified more than 8 months ago, and Panera Bread said, no, we don't have a problem. No, stop, we'll take care of it. It's all good. 8 months goes by, and they have to be publicly shamed to admitting that they've been compromised that whole time. They continued to not fix the exploit. It was open for 8 months, and they completely said, yeah, that's not a problem. So you're going to see those continue, and they're going to evolve. Those breaches are going to continue to happen, and they're only going to get worse as more and more devices get connected. My favorite one last summer was actually the exploit that allowed hackers to hijack your smart TV or your listening devices in your home or your tablet or PC and spy on you. Now, in this particular one, just to give you an idea of how it works, I nominated my neighbor. My neighbor actually is a Tampa Bay police officer, so I won't show his picture, sort of. He's really into drones. He's always out in his backyard. He's flying the drones, got the headset on. Anyone in the drones in the room? So you put the headset on. He's actually flying this thing 400 feet up in the air and remote controlling it, and he's wearing the VR headset. And he decides, to fly our neighborhood, photo the neighborhood and the dog park and stuff like that. Well, we're good neighbors, so he messes with me one night. Says, hey, why are you up so late? I say, dude, why are you texting me? I love my new drone. So he takes the drone and flies it outside my office window and takes a picture of me and then texts it to me. He thought he was being clever. All right, so I decided to give him a little payback on this one. So a couple days go by, I try to figure out exactly how am I going to do this. How am I going to get my neighbor back? I got to pay him back in spades, so how am I going to do that? I actually sent him a text message a couple days later. Hey, bud, you remember that drone pic? Seriously, man, you got to let that go. He says, cool, I see you too. I was like, cool, did you get a drone? No, bro, I got your TV. I jacked his Wi-Fi and took a picture of him watching television. It's really fun because he had his shoes on in the house and his wife was pissed. It was great. So I actually get to hold that. And you can see he wasn't too happy. He left tickets all over the windshield of my car the next morning. They're all plastered on it. The big sticky adhesive ones, so I just have to scrape them. But good neighborly fun. So it's a matter of educating why you want to secure your wireless. And we're going to talk a lot about wireless in just a few minutes because many in this room have already been compromised, I'm sorry to say, but I won't publicly shame you. And remember that I am mostly ethical, so it'll be a lot of fun. That was an LG Smart TV. Does anyone have one of these? Everyone have one of, or does anyone have the smart TV where you can Skype from it? That's a HD, that's a high definition camera built into the front of it, just in case you're wondering. It was a simple exploit to do. Hijack his wireless, connected a television, had an Android app that I could simply hit capture on and download an image from the television. So it's pretty cool, a lot of fun. Imagine all those devices in your homes. How many of you, I saw that we were passing out the Secure Designs laptop cover. Those are really good to cover up the camera on the laptop. Did you cover up the mic? Because I can still hear you. Imagine the sounds that I can hear inside your home just by having the device connected and powered on and connected to the internet. So maybe an extra piece of tape on top of the mic might be in order for some of you as well. So just to keep that in mind. Just to show you the evolving threat, to show you how it's changed in the past few years. I see a couple of spring chickens in the room, but for some of you, I see, how many of you have been online since 1996? Figure. All right. Can anyone tell me how many computer viruses existed in 1996? A guess. Throw a guess out. 1,000? 10,000. Okay, perfect. Hit the number right on the head. 10,000 computer viruses existed in 1996. That was 10,000 in 1996. Fast forward a couple of decades, we're now seeing more than 2 million new viruses every month. 2 million new viruses a month. Just to give you an idea of how this stands, just last week, I pulled the stats from one day in particular last week. From April 3rd, we detected 52,000, almost 53,000 new viruses in a single day. 53,000 viruses in a single day. That's more than almost 40 new viruses every 60 seconds. And that was a slow day. That's what is up against coming after your network. Sometimes it could be a nation state. It could be Timmy down the street who's mad at you. It could be a script kiddie that's bored and doesn't have enough, doesn't not get a job or not a part-time job. He's actually goofing off on his parents' PC or downloading a code that Timmy told him to. All right, those script kiddies, those are still a danger. The professional hackers, the exploiters, all that's still taking place. But that's what you're facing. That's where security, in order to prevent the breach, takes hard work. You have to be diligent. The ideology that security is something where you buy a firewall, you plug it in, or you install your antivirus client, and you never touch it again, or you go and touch the firewall once every 6 months, that mentality is no longer applicable. It doesn't hold water. Security is a front office job. It's not something that is a part-time job by one of your IT people. It is actually a full-time job that requires a dedicated resource to manage the security posture of your organization. Someone to come in and monitor the regulations, monitor the compliancy, monitor the updates, making sure that everything is protected, making sure things are staying up to date, making sure that those zero-day exploits like Meltdown and Spectre are getting patched on your system so that you're not compromised. Showing your awareness, making sure that you're training your employees. Just because it's pretty and it's blue doesn't mean you have to click it. Right, which we'll show some of those employees doing that in just a second. And from where the viruses are coming from, obviously it's a global pandemic. I can't really see that slide too well, but it's a nice little map of all the viruses going off globally. But we'll skip ahead to my favorite one, which is social engineering. Social engineering remains the #1 way that hackers will compromise your networks. It is the easiest thing to do because of the fact they're targeting the weakest link of your cybersecurity, and that's you. You are the weakest link in your network security posture. The human, right? Just like Terminator, right? The Terminator makes short, quick of the humans. That's what the hacker is going to do. The first lesson in how to be a hacker, if you want to do what I do, if you want to be a professional black hat or a ethical hacker, quasi-ethical hacker, you can actually, the first chapter of the book you're going to read is how to do social engineering. It's the con. It's a con job. How many of you got a phone call from somebody trying to help you with your Office 365 installation? That wasn't Microsoft. Okay? How many of you got an update, phone call from another Microsoft phone call to help you update the Windows 10? Yep, that wasn't Microsoft. How many of you got a phone call from the IRS? Okay, that wasn't the IRS. Those are social engineering cracks that they're trying to do. They're trying to fake you to giving information. This is a true story from South Florida on the right here, where Mike worked at animal control in the nice little county government. Mike gets a phone call from Joe. Joe says, "Hey, Mike, I'm responsible for fixing all the laptops in the county." "Okay. I see a problem on yours. I'm going to send you a log me in request, and I'm going to take care of it for you." "Oh, thank you." So Joe logs in on the log me in. Joe's a hacker. Joe's messing up the county network, causes almost $800,000 in damage before the hack stops. He's online for over an hour. The only reason the hack stopped is because Mike was union and closed the laptop to go to lunch. It's the only reason. I kid you not, I'm not kidding. Can't make that one up. But in that particular breach, yes, almost $1 million in damage, and the county was out of business to the point that they could not hold court dates for 2 weeks. They had to shut down, the entire clerk of court had to shut down for the 2-week time period. They couldn't prosecute any cases. They had to let criminals go because of rules and regulations on not being able to speedy trial, things like that. You weren't able to have different civil litigation taking place. All of that tragically impacted the county on how different things were going. So again, social engineering is really the first thing you're going to find. Being aware, having your employees, having your staff, having your family members, having your kids know not to type in their social. Having that information, having that intelligence, having that awareness is the first thing you want to do. The first level of training, you want to make sure every employee in your organization knows how to spot social engineering. It's okay to challenge people, all right? Because when you don't, well, then you get to have a lot of fun, like this one. Social engineering, what they'll do is they'll go online, they'll find out about your company. How many of you have a contact page on your website? There you go. They look up that page, they look up your phone number, they look up your email address, they look up your name. Now, I go and look up your name and your email address on social media, your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your Snapchat. I find out other information about your organization and people that work there. Who's on vacation? What are their likes? What is their favorite color? What is their birthday? And then I can craft emails specific to them. In this particular case, I go online, I find the CEO is on Facebook, they're on vacation, I do the information gathering, all the research, and then I go and deliver a nice little email to the employee saying, hey, click on this. And that's all it has to take. In this particular case, I actually show how to hack the election in 2016. So a nice little fake news website and a Twitter bot. I did not know how far ahead of the curve I was. In this particular case, it's a true story, by the way. I did it before the election. So you can, I was equally offensive, though, so I don't know who you went for, but just both sides got targeted. So basically set up a fake news website. And in this particular website, if you click on any of this or you stay on this website for 30 seconds, Instant Karma News, you get this. You've been hacked. And be careful what websites you go to because that's called a malvertising campaign. That's exactly how the bad guys do it. In this particular case, using a Twitter bot, fake little Twitter handle here, sent out some fake tweets to Trump, to Clinton, to elections 2016, to cybersecurity, to the Associated Press, actually saying, do not click here. They clicked it. In that case, I put the link right inside the tweet and actually say, here, click on that, directing users to do it. I did this live on stage, and in 20 minutes, I had 241 victims. 241 victims off 10 tweets that actually went to the website and clicked on a link. That's all it took. That's how social engineering, following somebody online, getting their information, pretending to be an employee, pretending to be the boss, pretending to be HR, and say, hey, I need someone to send all the W-2s to me right away. They call the HR department from your website. They pretend to the CEO or maybe they find a link and to the outside legal attorney's office or real estate firm or whatnot. They find out the information. They connect the dots back through. They make it sound so believable that it's almost anyone would fall for it. You have to make sure that awareness is so that the employees know, say, hey, you don't get phone calls like that. Just hang up. If I need something, I'll actually come over and tap you on the shoulder. That's where you have to have that level of awareness. Because when they actually send the phish attack, when they actually deliver the malware, when they actually deliver the social engineering attack, it becomes very believable. They really spend a lot of time. How many of you won the African lottery? Perfect. All right. So you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? That one was actually just a wide fish, right? They throw it out there and they wait for everybody to click on it. But the spearfish is where they're actually targeting you. You heard mention of the one earlier with the CEO's wire transfer fraud, where you get an email from the CEO to the CFO and says, hey, pay this bill. Okay, I'll do it. And they wire transfer magically $100,000 to Beijing. Why? Why wouldn't you have checks and balances in place to make sure that you weren't actually doing that, right? Making sure that, hey, if you're going to send money, you got to make sure you have an approval form or two-factor authentication. You have to have 2 steps to know what's going on, right? In this case, you can see where 67% of all malware attacks last year, for the first half anyway, were delivered via a spear phishing email. Having your end users understand what emails are coming in, having that awareness, having that training is part of the hard work, right? If you do it, it will protect you. There's email security solutions. SonicWall's got one, block all the bad emails coming in before the employee gets it. However, they're still going to go to their personal email. They're still going to go to Yahoo Mail. That did wonders, didn't it? They're still going to go to Google Mail. They're still going to go to their own little Outlook.com or something like that to check their personal mail. If they're doing that on your network, on your time, on your systems, well, then your systems will be compromised. All right, so you want to be able to safeguard against those threats. Can be done, just, again, hard work and awareness. And again, it's going to continue to evolve because the hackers are only getting better. So when they compromise a business, when they compromise one of your networks, they actually turn around and use your contact information to target others. Has anyone experienced that wonderful joy of life? Or your network or your email gets compromised, and all of a sudden people are getting emails from you that you never sent. That happens quite a bit. If you're in businesses of your nature, it's not just the damage that it does to the business, to the bottom line, like the wire transfer fraud. It's the business damage to your reputation. The reputation of your business is something that you have to spend money and diligence on and energy on to protect. You spent how many years building that reputation, building that image? You want to protect that just as much as you want to protect the data, right? You want to make sure that's where having regulations, having compliancy, having the safeguards in place, having data backups in place, having training for your employees in place, that's where it's going to really play a part, right? Just to show you an idea of a phishing attack and how it actually works, email goes online, hacker goes online, they create their nice little fake websites, their fake emails. They go and they research your company online, get your contact information, and then they go and they say, oh, it's the CEO, John Adams here, okay. Oh, there's the office manager's email address. Okay, I'm going to send a spoofed email to that employee with a ransomware kit. This is exactly how the bad guys do it. Go online, create the email, disregard the fact that I did that for fun. Actually send the email out. Email goes to the user, and they're going to get the ransomware. This is what it looks like. How many of you have not seen ransomware? Perfect. All right, this will be fun. So this is Office 365, nice little handy-dandy website I'm sure none of you have ever been on. End user gets an email. Notice, it's a pretty and blue link. Therefore, they must click it, right? Because it's pretty and it's blue. It must be clicked. End user clicks on the link. As soon as they do it, they go to click on Run and launch the application because their CEO told them to. That's all it takes. Once that happens, once the program is run, you'll watch here, within a few seconds, the end user starts to realize, oh, there's something wrong with my PC. What is going on? You'll notice the PC starts acting sluggish. Windows start magically moving on their own. All of a sudden, I can't click on anything. I'm going to go look at my spreadsheet again. Oh, that's still there. Watch what happens when they go to their documents to actually see where their files are. Watch their file names as the ransomware is magically running and encrypting all of their files. Look at the file names changing real time. It's actually locking all those files up. Now you have to pay Bitcoins to get those back. And to give everybody an idea of how much ransomware this is out there, this is actually a very popular one last year called Cerber. Spread very, very quick, very, very fast. Much like WannaCry and Petya and others that you may have heard about. The one that took down Atlanta is called SamSam. My personal favorite was one that came out in January called Annabelle, because not only did it encrypt all your files and walk your entire network, but it popped up that freaky little doll from the Conjuring movies. So you got the next little, oh God, you got a little message as well. So instead of getting, hey, pay Bitcoins, here's Annabelle up in your face, right? So that was that particular exploit. But that's actually what's going to pop up. Now you have to go and try and pay these guys the money. Now, I personally would never pay. I would never advise paying. I don't care how much damage it does. You have to not give into it. Otherwise, they just keep going. All right? And because of the fact of the way they copy that code, the way they steal from each other, the way that you pointed out earlier with stealing from each other, they actually do that constantly. They borrow each other's code. That's why when you saw WannaCry hit last year, there was more than 30 versions in that one weekend. The one you saw with the kill switch, that was only in the first version. All the other 29 versions that came out that weekend, they didn't have a kill switch. All right? The only way to kill them was to undo the damage or pay the ransom. And that's exactly how those exploits decimate the network. You want to actually block it. Data backup is very important. There are ransomware packages that do target your backups. One in particular deletes your shadow copy of your Windows, so you can't undo the ransomware. You want to make sure, but then again, there is a security solution that you can set up that hardens and locks down your secure copy, your backup copy, your shadow copy, so you can undo the ransomware. That's where diligence and awareness comes in. That's where making sure you're staying ahead of the game, making sure that you're protecting against the breaches where it comes into play. Go into this one, my favorite one. It's all about your passwords. Now, this is one we're going to have a little bit of fun with because I want to show you just how good the hackers are in stealing your data. So the one thing they want to do is they want to get your password so that they can unlock all your personal information. But all of you have had your passwords compromised already in one form or fashion or another. How many of you were caught up in the Yahoo breach? Anyone who's using Yahoo was caught up in that, so you have to raise your hand. Anyone that was caught in a Twitter breach? 32 million passwords stolen from that one. Anyone into Amazon, 80,000 passwords stolen in that one. All these passwords that have gotten stolen, what the bad guys have done is actually created their own research on how to map what your passwords are. I'll give you an idea. Well, of course, there is the mother of all password breaches with Equifax. It didn't help that their password was admin. That never helps. So hopefully you guys are choosing something a little harder than that. When you have admin as one of your websites, it doesn't work out well. All right, so in that particular case, the bad guys have taken all the stolen passwords and they've actually done the research on it. Here's a couple of screenshots from a report that was done by Berserk Zero and DigiNinja. All right, these wonderful individuals created these spreadsheets so they can show other hackers how to craft password crackers to gauge your password. They actually can determine how many passwords are using different forms, different strings of characters. They put all this information together and then they put it on the black web so that the other thieves will be able to break into your data that much faster. And they come up with a lot of good exploits. All right, you want to make sure you're making sure you're having a complex password. How many of you have a password complexity model for your office? Making sure the passwords are challenging, right? How many of you do it in your personal life? Perfect. Every hand should have gone up there, right? My wife hates my passwords because they're all like 14, 15 characters long, and not one of them's in English. So she has a real hard time with that one. But trust me, it's worth it because then you don't get compromised. Just to give you an idea of some of the research that they found out, literally 90% of the 32 million passwords that they analyzed, 90% of them were solely lowercase letters and numbers. A password cracker can compromise a 12-digit password if it's alphanumeric and lowercase, takes about 8 seconds. I can brute force that password in less than 8 seconds. That's all it takes. Now, if it's lowercase alphanumeric, all right, it doesn't take that long. I can generate it just a couple of seconds. You start adding in special characters and case sensitivity, you make it harder and harder. So rather than start with just the word noodle, you want to get a password down here where you got hyphen noodle with an uppercase N, another hyphen 17, hyphen soup in all caps. You want to make it complex, right? You want to make it secure. There's another level here that everyone in the room should take to heart, not just from your business, but for your personal life as well. And that is two-factor authentication. It is the ultimate way of security. How many of you have an Amazon account? How many of you have two-factor authentication on your Amazon account? All right. Notice the difference in hands there. Amazon, I'll answer this one for you. When was the last time Amazon forgot your credit card number? Never, right? They have every credit card number you've ever used for them. Now, if I log in as your account with your password because your email got compromised, I'm in your email, I use your email address as your username at Amazon, and I hit reset password. I get into your account, I change the shipping details, all your products are now coming to me. All your purchases are going where I want them to go. It's that simple. That's exactly how it happens. But with two-factor authentication, you can stop that. You should do it. Every one of these services that are popping on the screen, they all do it, including Amazon, so that once you log into Amazon and you go into the cart, it sends you a text message that says, hey, are you logged in? Is this you? And you have to enter the magic password that it comes up on your phone. You have to actually have that set up. You want to make sure that you're doing that across all your online banking, all your social media, all of it can do it. You should be doing this for office, all your offices. How many of you log in remotely to your office on a VPN? How many of you are using two-factor authentication on that? Perfect. A couple hands went up, not nearly enough. All right. How many of you have just a thumb lock to unlock your phone? Just using your thumbprint. Yeah, I can do that too with a piece of cellophane. It's a really cool trick. I'll show you how. But having two-factor, having a password, or having something else that has to be entered 2 times, so you have to have a thumbprint and the password, that would be two-factor. It's something you know and something you have, right? So whether it be a thumbprint, whether it be biometric, whether it be a text message that the system sends you, whether it be a callback system, something along those lines, you want to have two-factor authentication turned on, because even if they compromise your password, they still have to have your phone, they still have to have the card, they still have to have access to something else in order to prove. Just when I log into Gmail, I get a pop-up on my phone that says, hey, are you logging into Gmail? Yep, I am. And then it lets me in. That's a system you want to have. Yes, is it harder? Yes, that's why I said it's hard work to be secure. It's not easy. If you want easy, you're going to get breached. It's that simple. When you start looking at how different things, having these different policies in place, having two-factor authentication, these other rules in the office, including rules like not connecting, thumb drives to your office network. These are always a lot of fun. How many of you have a policy about using thumb drives? Not nearly enough hands went up on that one, but I'm sure all of you will raise your hands in just a second. In this particular case, I went and bought some, just to give you a demonstration, bought some thumb drives on Amazon with my two-factor authentication. I loaded them up with some interesting files called checking access, finance and accounts, wife pics, XXX pics. And then if you click on any of these files, up pops the warning page. Hey, you've been breached. You should know better. Don't pick up a thumb drive that you found on the street. Well, okay. And then I dropped them. In Starbucks, that's your napkin dispenser, airport, business park, throw one out in the driveway, right? Wait and see who actually picks these things up and connects them into their PC. Well, 30 thumb drives and 5 days later, I got my answer. 67 individuals picked up a thumb drive they had never seen before off the ground and plugged it into their computer in 5 days. Actually, let's take it back. It was 63. One guy clicked on all 4 files, so he gets disqualified. You can't fix stupid. Right? All right, so in that case, I guess he's trying to get lucky. But in that case, 67 hits, 67 breaches that I could have affected with a bad malicious Trojan, an exploit, or something else, just by having them to connect the device. All of these devices that you're connecting to your network, they all will play a part in your security posture. They will all play a role in how your business is set up to handle this new technology. Just as you heard Stephen talk about earlier about having the devices where you actually segment and connect it in. Oh, no, I'm sorry, was used. I said you don't have any new devices in your network until you evaluate them, right? So that same thing would apply. Making sure you have that detected, making sure you're inspecting what it is you're connecting to your network. Just like the Boca Raton Police Department that connected the brand new body camera right out of the package to the police department network and got a malware exploit called Conflicker, pretty nasty one, directly off the body camera to the rest of the network. Body camera made in China, out of the box, plugged it in, network is compromised. Should have been put into like a Faraday cage or some other sandbox and tested before it's connected to your network. Same thing would apply to you. And then, and just to give you an example, sometimes you'll see things in Hollywood. A lot of people ask me, hey, what's the strangest breach you've ever seen or anything like that? Well, I don't know if you guys saw a movie called Black Hat, came out in 2015. It was I normally throw a spoiler alert, but trust me, you didn't miss anything. I don't usually go to see hacker movies because they're kind of boring. My wife made me go because Thor's in it. And basically, Thor has a really cool scene in one of the scenes that's actually true. Thor gets his girlfriend dressed up in the pretty white dress here, goes online, goes into the bank with a coffee spilled on the report. And says, oh, I spilled coffee on my report. Can you help me out? Gives the security guard a thumb drive. And says, oh, okay, I'll plug that in for you and print it out. Plugs it in. Thor jumps into the network and takes all the bank's money. Right? Pretty cool. That was Hollywood. So I decided to see how well that worked in real life, except instead of playing Thor, I play the girl in the white dress. I got some spy sunglasses, a nice little HD camera in the bridge of the nose, right? Bought them on Amazon with my two-factor authentication. Nice little thumb drive with a SonicWall intrusion prevention data sheet on it, and then decided to walk into a business park in Tampa Bay. Nice pretty building here, walked in, and I went into 20 different businesses. 20 different businesses in the building. I only got turned away twice. 18 times they took the thumb drive and printed out the PDF for me. 18 times. One was a bank, a community bank, a doctor's office, a couple law firms, a real estate office, a dentist office. The security guard in the other building over here wouldn't let me in because I didn't have any appointments, but she printed it out for me, so it was kind of helpful. But all of that was done. One of them was actually the most astonishing. One young lady made the highlight reel. It was a doctor's office. Because when she took the thumb drive from me, she said, is it a virus? No, of course not. It's not a virus. Okay, here you go. She took it and plugged it in. She asked me, is it a virus? She had some level of cybersecurity awareness, but she wasn't following the procedure. She saw me in the suit and said, oh, that's trustworthy. I'll take the thumb drive and plug it in. Just like the bad guy wears the cable company logo shirt, comes to your office and says, hey, I got to fix the router. Is that really the cable guy you just let in, or is it Timmy? All right, and he's up to no good. Having these procedures, having these policies, again, comes into awareness. It's okay to say no. We don't have printers. One business actually told me that. So you can actually block that out. But having a policy like that is how you safeguard from a breach. And just to show you how easy it is to be compromised, well, all of you today may have noticed there's a lot of open Wi-Fi here. I don't know, maybe you didn't get on the wireless, maybe you didn't even take a look around. But if you've ever been to a busy place like a Starbucks or something like that, and you see the Wi-Fi and everybody on it, have you seen what other people are doing on their devices? Are you sure you want to get on that network? Did you see this guy in the back wearing the t-shirt that said hacker on it? in plain sight, right? Breaching everybody in the Starbucks. Well, this is actually what I did. I set up a fake wireless network inside of Starbucks and waited for victims to come log in, not to Starbucks, but they were logging into my laptop. And I was able to see all of their information, including their Wells Fargo information. Now, what you're seeing there is a Wi-Fi pineapple. It's a nice little device that allows me to pretend to be other wireless networks, much like this little guy that all of you were connecting to today. In fact, any of you right now that are connected to any Wi-Fi network, we'll go ahead and take a look at your device because many of you are victims. If you look at your device right now and you see you're on a Wi-Fi network and it's not the proximity hotel, you're on my device. And I have all your usernames and passwords. It was that simple. Yes, some of you, I won't throw any names out there. April, sorry, a couple other, Stephen, there is someone's HP iPad Pro, maybe, just to give an idea on whose that one might be, but throw a couple names out there. Yes, you've been on a fake wireless network. Now, because I am ethical, no, you were not on the really dangerous box. You were actually on a SonicWall wireless router, one of our wireless access points going through a secure firewall on a Verizon LTE connection. You were not going through a legitimate network, but you were actually secure. So didn't actually steal your data. A quasi-ethical bad guy, right? So in that case, though, I want you to think about it. Your device connected to a network you didn't know. That's the message. You joined AT&T Wi-Fi or Netgear or Xfinity Wi-Fi. You joined one of these Wi-Fi networks in the past with your device. And when you did so, you said, always trust this network. You clicked on that option. Your device, as soon as it saw that Wi-Fi, it connected. That's all it takes. As soon as your device connects to that Wi-Fi, all your apps, your OneDrive, your iTunes, your chat, your Instagram, your Snapchat, your Facebook, all those apps phone home. And they have your username and password in it. All of that information could be collected by the hacker. This device right here is a Raspberry Pi with a Verizon connection on it with a battery pack. I can walk through the airport and have all kinds of fun with it, just for ethical demonstration purposes, of course. But in that particular case, that's where you have to be aware. You have to be aware of how your devices are connected, what they're doing, what firmware is on them, what they're set up for. How many of you have the weather app on your phone? Yeah, go look at the security policy for that on how it can modify the Bluetooth settings of your device, or how it's constantly broadcasting your location back to the servers. All of that is awareness. That's what you have to take away from this. Being aware of how the bad guys do it, how susceptible you are to it, and then you have to spend the money and the hard work to make sure you're not. Because I promise you, security is achievable. It just takes a whole lot of hard work and a whole lot of time. And it takes awareness, right? That's me in a Hilton hotel down in Boca. Had a lot of fun that night. You'd be surprised what people click on when they think they're alone in their hotel room. And they think they're on the hotel Wi-Fi, not yours. But that's what a bad guy would do. They camp out in a hotel and at a conference. That's all kinds of fun. Right? So just to show you how easy it is to compromise the connected network, how devices are all interconnected. I love to pick on my neighbors. They're always my favorite guinea pigs. They didn't realize they were going to happen that way when they moved into the neighborhood. So when my neighbor got the popular Samsung door lock that allows him to unlock the front door with his phone, I showed him how I can do it too, whenever I want. And of course, security cameras. How many of you have an online security camera in your home that's monitoring a door cam or ring cam? You access that from your phone, do you? Able to see from anywhere. Yeah, so can I. Here's all the usernames and passwords and directions on how to access those devices. There's all the IP addresses, how they're wide open. Many of them are completely unprotected. Many of you never even set up the passwords on your device to make it easy. They just want to click it and it comes up. So in that case, so can the bad guy live streaming footage of somebody's garage. I have no idea whose, but you can actually see inside the garage, hey, their cars are home. This is about awareness, being aware of what the bad guys are stumbling onto. There's actually online databases showing all these unprotected cameras. There's actually an online website you can go to right now and show all these devices. You can see inside the doctor's office. You can see the reception hall inside the doctor's office because their camera was unprotected. Or, better yet, this young lady washing her dishes home alone. Wait for it, there. You can actually see a little Amazon Echo down in the bottom corner, right? She's actually alone, but here's where the bad guy makes it kind of creepy. Pulls up the IP address of your camera, and then Google's Earths your house. Now I know where you're at, I know when you're home, I can unlock your front door. It makes it a lot easier. It's all about being aware. What is connected on your device, on your network? What devices are there? Does your TV need to be downloading updates all the time? Or can it not just be a TV? Are your kids' PlayStations or their Xboxes connected to your home network? Do any of you have that wonderful little gizmo called the Xbox Connect, where it puts a camera and a mic right in the front of your television so the kids can do the singing games? Anyone got that one, or is it just my daughter? Right? She was very mad when I took out the Connect. Right? So I only plug that in when it's behind the firewall. But you can actually have all that protected. You can safeguard against all these breaches. Right? You can do things like making sure that your wireless network's not exposed, or your brand new LG smart refrigerator is not broadcasting its wireless signal out to the rest of the cul-de-sac. Right? Because then your neighbor will have fun with you and mess with the lights on your fridge. You can do other things like that. You want to make sure you're safeguarded. You make sure you're inspecting it. Achieving security, again, is easy to do. You have to navigate. One of the things that are in it's the electrical playbook. Is that what we're calling it? This slide was in there. It's some kind of playbook you guys are taking home with you. It's actually, this little slide shows you all the little things you want to do in order to safeguard your network. So you want to get around all of these red dots. I know I'm standing between you and an open bar, so I'll hurry up. All these red dots are bad. Blue dots are good. The blue dots are what it takes to actually be secure. Next generation firewall. Your grandfather's firewall, no good. You actually need an appliance that can do deep packet inspection, including encrypted traffic inspection. You need to have an endpoint threat detection. You need to make sure you have antivirus and other tools on these devices to safeguard them themselves. Encryption, making sure that the data that you have from the company that you do take home, you don't lose this phone at the gym and all of your information can be unlocked with a piece of cellophane and some makeup. Right? You want to make sure you have that protected. Making sure you're using two-factor authentication for any and everything you can. Make sure that you have secure remote access and Wi-Fi, email security, advanced persistent threat detection. One of you gentlemen brought up the APT. Making sure you have that turned on. Making sure you have it inspecting for the zero-day threats, the zero-day exploits. You want to be able to protect against what you don't know is coming tomorrow, because Timmy's writing viruses right now. He'll be sending them out at midnight tonight when he finishes his Jolt Cola, I promise. All right, data protection and encryption, making sure you have policies of how data is handled in your network, making sure that you have privilege management. Contrary to belief, not everyone has to be a domain admin for Windows to work. I promise. All right, you can make sure that it's restricted. You want to make sure that you have monitoring and reporting. How many of you sit down at the end of the month and say, what happened on the network this month? How many of you have a managed service provider that reviews the content of your network? What took place? Whoa, you had a bandwidth spike. Oh, wait a minute, Timmy was running BitTorrent. That would be bad. You want to make sure you're reviewing what's taking place on your network on a regular basis. See if there's anything unusual, right? No, your employees don't need to have Kik, right? They don't need to have Snapchat, right? On the corporate network. You want to make sure you're inspecting that. And lastly, management and training. It's all about awareness. And everyone needs to go through the training, not just the folks that run the keyboards, but the C-level all the way to the folks that actually do the manual labor in the warehouse. You need to make sure everybody goes through a cybersecurity awareness training. There are modules out there. There's all kinds of literature you can go to, webinars you can attend, YouTube videos you can watch. It shows you exactly how the bad guys do it, and you can prevent it. So this little takeaway, again, I'm not going to go through all the eye chart here, but it's included in the kit that you guys are going to be able to take home with you. And in closing, just because I know everyone wants to hit the open bar, make sure you always leverage a true security solution. You want to keep the bad guys out, and you want to keep the viruses off your devices. Unfortunately, that's not it, right? You want to make sure you're safeguarding against the breach. You want to make sure you install real security, right? You want to keep the bad guys out. You want to make sure you're checking who's coming and going. You want to install your security solution in the best possible place. You'd certainly want to make sure you never install a security solution for your security solution. It always does wonders. Make sure everybody follows the company corporate policy and all the regulations in regards to your data. Because when they don't follow the instructions and leave the door unlocked, well, then it's your own fault. So you make sure that. Make sure they use complex passwords. Remember, two-factor authentication. It's really easy to do. You want to keep them guessing, right? And lastly, I didn't do this as a sales pitch. Yes, I work for SonicWall. Yes, I consider it the best firewall out there. I've been there for 7 years now. I've been in cybersecurity for 27 years. First job was actually stalking people online for a private investigator, but we'll talk about that later. All of that with the security solution that you can achieve, yes, you can do it. This is this kind of security you want. Nothing gets through. Remember, the only downfall to that was what? Human weakness. Right? It was a human that got in the way of that machine, and that's how it got compromised. And of course, that would be Chuck Norris approved. Thank you very much for all of your time today. I appreciate it. Any questions, we'll be happy to talk about it.